main reason for me being in the studio business was to have my own room that I could set up the way I wanted to, and that was it, you know. But the other part of it I didn't like. Right. And so now I've got my own room, but not only do I have my own room, I don't have someone else coming in the day before, and then I take 5 hours to try to get it back to where I left it and all. It's now, it really is. I am now unbelievably focused on the music.
Well, to me, that's exciting, you know. And you know, one thing I see about all this is, like, if you had a mix-up tonight and weren't done with it and went to bed and come back in the morning and wasn't feeling it, you could go out for a bike ride and come back in and be like, oh, now I feel it.
Yeah.
And no one's touched anything. It's exactly where it was.
It's exactly where it was. I'm not dealing with a studio manager saying, look, there's a guy coming in at 6 o'clock, you know, you gotta... Yeah. It's the music now. Well, you know?
There's still, I think, places where analog gear is still vital, and certain people who really love it and use it every day. And I have so many clients that are split between these two worlds. And it's funny, you know, I'm doing a project right now for a client. He doesn't have a computer in his studio, and I thought, in 2012, you don't have Pro Tools? He goes, no, and I'm booked for 3 months out. I have people lined up who only want to work analog, and they have 5
and more power to them. I love, you know, some of the records that they make, and I love that they're into the process. I just can't. I can't deal with alignments anymore. I don't want to deal with crackling gear. I don't want to deal, you know, I just, you know, for me, I went through all that. I've done it. Now I just really want to make the music sound good. You know, I've given up believing that it's the tools. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Like I say, my first Grammy came on a 16-bit O2R. I just don't believe that the way, whether you go analog or whether you go digital, whether you use new gear or old gear, I don't care what it is, anything that's out there today makes a great recording. It's not what it is. You know, if you like the sound of a Pultec, then you need a Pultec. I understand that. You're not going to get it from an Orban, okay? But if you know what you want in your head, there's so many ways to do it now. And anyone that says you can't get a good digital or you can't get a good analog, or they're you know, the guy, remember the guys that used to say, I can't work on an SSL. I only work on a Neve. I'll only work on an API. Or I'll only work on an SSL because, you know, I get calls, I'd work on whatever the console is. You know, none of everything is good.
So is it about the song? Is it about the performance? Is it about...
It's about just having confidence in what you do and knowing you're going to get it to sound good. As, you know, to think that Peter Gabriel's So would be a better album in analog is silly, you know. To think the Dark Side of the Moon would be better in digital. No, it's... The guys who made those records made them with what they had, and because they were good, it was great. Okay? You know, Al Schmitt still likes to mix on an analog console. Okay? But it's not the console that makes Diana Krall sound good, it's Al Schmitt. Right. Okay? If Al Schmitt were working in the digital world, it would sound just as great. And so, you know, but he chooses to work a particular way. Same with Elliott. They choose to work in a particular way. But if you have confidence and you know what you're doing, to me, it's not the gear. I choose the gear that I like because it's easy for me to get what I want. But I don't have to have that gear. You know, I can do it with, hopefully, almost anything. And that's why I choose digital. That I can focus on the music. I spend more of my time focused on the music. I'm not spending all of my time turning knobs and doing things. I'm mixing. And getting to where I want to go, to me, is so much easier this way.
That's great.
But it's a choice. It's not, I don't do it because there's something inherently better in one piece of gear than another. You don't get better than a Pultec or an old LA2A, but they don't work for everything. So, you know, so you can't, even in the best analog studio in the world, you can't have LA2As on every instrument because it's physically not possible. You can't have different, you know, we know that some people love the way a tape machine sounds at 15 IPS on some things for the bottom end, but the top end is better at 30. So you don't have the choice of doing what, you know, different things for different tracks. I do. I like that. I like the choice.
That's cool. Do you find certain plugins that you like better than others? Or do you find
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the UAD stuff's it's fantastic. I'd say 70% of what I do is UAD. Certainly of the emulation stuff, it's UAD. Then there's a few essentials outside of UAD that I can't live without. One is some of the new Slate stuff that Fabrice Gabriel's been doing. Yeah. Fantastic.
Great sounding stuff.
Oh, great sounding stuff. The new VTM that they have is fantastic. It really makes me realize that I made the right decision getting out of the analog world, because there were so many times I didn't like what analog did to certain instruments. But there are times I like what it did. But in the analog world, you can't say, oh, do the bias on this. You know, we know that the guitars sound good on 456, but I didn't like the way the drums sounded on 450. So what? I'm going to have 16 tape machines with different formulations and different biases, and no. But I got it now. Do whatever I want. So, and I can put it on the things I want. You know, I may put it on a vocal or I may not. I may not like it. I may like it at 15 IPS or 30. I don't care. So I'd say maybe out of a 40 or 50 track mix, maybe 15 tracks are going through some type of analog processing or simulated, you know, emulated. And the rest of it's going digital. But then there are things that I do in the digital world that I could never do in the analog world. There's a